Viagra is a drug being used by the males to boost their sexual power. And on the other side, we have information about Vairagya. In other words, detachment. Detachment from worldly affairs. Now, there is a contrast between the word Viagra and Vairagya. So, Viagra has the power to increase your sexual power when you are of the age of even 55, 60. It can give you the strength to have more sex. This was a drug that came into the world with long set of experiments and research by the scientists. And a lot of people in the world use this drug to use the sex as one of the means of the enjoyment. But in contrast, we have another term in our Vedic literatures when we say that Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment. When we talk about detachment, detachment means we need to get detached from the worldly affairs, or we need to get attached to the activities which are related to God. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha Yukta Vairagyena Uchyate. So we try to connect everything with God. And as devotees, when we start practicing the science of Krishna consciousness, then we eventually start experiencing that bliss. And then, the same principle applies. Once you start experiencing the higher taste, the higher bliss in your life, then gradually you by yourself start, renouncing the lower so-called enjoyment of this world. Now, when we talk about this lower so-called enjoyment of this world, even sex is also one of those so-called enjoyment of this world, for which people hanker in their life. And at the end of the day, when we are dying, when we are becoming old, the desire to enjoy sex life remains within the heart, but we become incapable, or we are not really capable to enjoy that because our physical body does not allow us to do so. So, at one side, we have physical limitations. On the other side, we have desires within our mind because we continuously crave for this kind of enjoyment. Now, how do we train ourselves in getting rid of this so-called enjoyment? Then again, we have to follow that second principle which we talked about, which is Vairagya. We have to gradually cultivate the art of getting ourselves attached to the higher objects of enjoyment, and that is technically called as bliss. So, one side we are detaching ourselves from the lower enjoyments, on the other side we are attaching ourselves with the higher enjoyment, and that higher enjoyment can only be experienced once we start cultivating the detachment with the right attitude. And once we start experiencing that higher taste in our life, then we eventually renounce lower taste by default. Then someone may ask a question, why do we need to renounce the lower taste of enjoyment? The lower taste of enjoyment that we are trying to seek within this world, ultimately, with the passage of time, we realize that it is temporary. It does not last for long. It has its own limits. Once you are physically incapable to do something, then you finally, just crave for that enjoyment within your mind, but you are not capable to really enjoy it. Like for instance, if someone is suffering from sugar, then that person cannot enjoy sweets because he has problem with his health. If he will enjoy sweets, he will suffer more. Likewise, the lower enjoyments that we seek in this world, we try to enjoy them, but in that process of enjoyment, there is a hidden suffering of which we do not have visibility. Because our social media, the society focuses on promoting only the enjoyment side of it. It never talks about the suffering or the challenging side of that lower taste of enjoyment. At the end of the day, we land up in suffering. But if we seek higher enjoyment in this world, then practically we'll not be able to enjoy that lower taste, and that higher taste of enjoyment only ends in enjoyment. It does not have any element of suffering. So Vairagya, apparently it looks difficult to follow. At times people tell that, okay, you Hare Krishna people, you leave everything in your life. How can you sustain by leaving all those things? Like someone can leave coffee, tea, onion, garlic, eating outside. How do you people survive? It's like we are dedicating ourselves in experiencing something higher. When we are dedicating ourselves in experiencing something higher, then we do not have craving for something lower. And it is natural. Initially, it may be forceful, but gradually it becomes natural. And a lot of people have done it. It is the experience of thousands of people of this world. So you can also try, and you can make a wise choice whether you want Viagra or Vairagya. Ultimately, we need enjoyment, we need bliss. Vairagya can lead to the higher state of bliss. Viagra can give us temporary enjoyment. It does not last for long, and ultimately it ends into suffering. So choice is yours. Hare Krishna.